Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. I have another golf ball review for you from our Bridgestone line, which has been going pretty decently okay so far. This one, now we're getting finally into the Tour line golf ball models. They have 4 different ones, and we're starting out with the Tour B RX. So what this one is this is more of their distance golf ball, a little firmer, but it's in there under 105 mile an hour swing speed range. Basically, 2 of the golf balls they offer are over that, and 2 they offer are under that. So if you're a slower swinger, or if you're a higher swinger, this is the slower swinger, and it is if you need a little bit more distance. So this one's supposed to come off a little firmer, spin a little less, and essentially maybe give you more of a distance boost if you're someone who's a great iron striker. This, of course, is a 3-piece model, and it is, of course, a urethane cover, which is nice. This is the first golf ball I've tested from Bridgestone that has a urethane cover, as it should, because it does come in at a $49.99 a dozen price point, which is just about as expensive as it gets, honestly. I mean, that's right up there with the Pro V1. I think the Pro V1's up to $52.99 now, but honestly, that's just about as expensive as these golf balls get, so I have to hold to a very, very high standard as far as its consistency, just because it's got to verify that price point for sure. Also, if you've seen my channel, it's kind of based on the idea of getting value versus what you're spending, so that already kind of puts it in a tough position anyway. But let's see, maybe Bridgestone can come through and provide some great numbers. Let's see. Real quick, we'll just touch on the design of the golf ball. So it's the same as all the other ones, the Bridgestone, just the B. This one has a red, like a maroon too, next to it, very simplistic. And then if we go on the side here, this is more of what you see traditionally from an alignment tool from golf balls. However, I will say that this one is better than the E6. I like, the E6 and the E12 had a weird one. This one at least does have arrows on both sides. It's still not great. Honestly, they could improve that alignment tool a lot. It's just so basic. It makes it almost darn near impossible to actually line your golf ball up, especially if there's no line, because essentially you're just lining letters up with it. And I mean, by that point, you could just line the B up or something to try to make up for it, but really in the end you're going to end up making probably your own marks because you're not going to have a choice. So I would like them to see get better at that. All right, so pretty simplistic design. Let's get into the chipping and putting and see how it fared out there. All right, around the greens with the Bridgestone Tour B RX. Now, since this is a firmer golf ball, I didn't expect it to spin as much, but I was wrong. It actually spun quite a bit, well more than the E12 did, which was very refreshing. I am interested to see how the RXS does, since that model is supposed to spin a little bit more. But overall, as you can see from those there, the spin numbers were very good, and I mean, it really checked up. Maybe not on a dime level, but it did kind of tug. I actually said the E12 kind of lightly tapped the brakes. This one pumps them, so that's good. It's good to see. Also, going into the feel off the wedge, it honestly feels a lot like the E12. It really just has like a sound as far as a click, but not in the feel at all. And it lets you know where you hit it. But what's different about this one compared to the E12 is that if you mishit it, if you hit it off the toe, if you hit it off inside, you don't hit that wedge nice and solid. It's a lot louder and you immediately will hear it. It doesn't affect the feel at all, which is phenomenal, but it does affect how you hear it, and that lets you know, hey, you mishit it. And anyone's going to be able to pick up on that real quick. I found it very easy. So the ball definitely lets you know when you're doing something right and when you're doing something wrong. Moving into the putter, again, kind of like the E12, it really springs off there nice. It feels almost weightless when it comes off the putter, just enough in the sound of the ball to let you know where you hit it, but again, not in the feel. If you hit it off the toe, it's going to make a loud clicking sound, but it's not going to shake your club, which is really nice. It's good that they've really got that feel down. It feels like Bridgestone honestly spent a lot of time and energy in the green side, and it shows. So it's honestly really impressive. All right, so we know the chipping and putting now. Let's get into the numbers and see how they performed. Now, starting off with the 9-iron speed, we're looking at 89.9. That is a little bit on the lower side. It's not horrendous by any means, but it is on the lower side. And then we've got 124 for the distance total, 116.9 for the carry, which honestly was not bad at all. Those numbers are just fine. Really, the main thing with this golf ball is I noticed it was kind of like the E12 a little bit. So it is a little firmer because it's designed to get you some more distance and it doesn't spin as much. However, I will say that causes there to be a lack of consistency and forgiveness. So what happens is when you hit it off the toe, just like the E12, you lose some distance. Now, I will say you don't lose as much as the E12. It's a little bit more consistent than that, but this ball is really going to be for those guys who are consistent iron strikers, just because it's not very forgiving. Off-center hits are going to cost you a few yards for sure, and that's why that number was a little lower. Getting into the 7-iron, we are looking at 5,784 on the spin, so that's very, very low spin, very low spin. Like I told you in the last video, if you didn't see, normally 57, 5,800 would be my sweet spot, but I've kind of changed how I've hit my 7-iron a little bit, and now more of the 62 to 6,800 is what I'm seeing, so 5,700 is very, very low, especially for trying to get a ball to stick. I can't imagine if I'd hit it with a draw, it probably would have been even lower. 106.3 on the ball speed. That's pretty average. Actually, I'd say it's good. I'd say it's good based on those numbers. That's not bad at all. And then 150.4 on your carry and 162.3. Those numbers are actually very, very, very good as far as the distance goes. That's awesome to see. Definitely helped me out with my distance there. And then the launch angle 17.1. So it actually launched low. So that's awesome. It actually launched low, but actually gave me more distance. So what it promises to do, it actually does very well. That's awesome. Getting into the 5-iron, so 3,779 spin. That is definitely on the low side for sure. Definitely on the low side. And then 114.4 on your ball speed, which is also pretty low. Again, just I think it's just because of the lack of consistency with it being a little firmer. And then 187.6 on the distance compared to 172.4 on the carry. Now those numbers are just average. Nothing too crazy there, and it did have a 12.9 launch angle, which is very, very low. So that could be why I didn't get the extra distance, is just because the golf ball was just launching so low, it didn't get a chance to get up in the air. And then moving into the driver, we got 25.52 on the driver spin. Very, very low. Out of the last few balls I've been testing, I've been getting in the 28 to 3,000 mark. So this is by far the lowest I've tested so far when it comes to these new batch of balls with the new clubs. And then 234.5 on your distance, which is a little on the low side. And then 213.7 on your carry, 131.6. Those are all really low numbers. Again, what this is from is, again, it just goes back to the forgiveness. The driver, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not the greatest ball striker when it comes to my driver. I got the most forgiving driver on the market for that reason. And this is not a forgiving golf ball, and it showed with those numbers. It was very difficult. Now, I do want to say, once you hit the center of the face, it's gold. It absolutely is gold. The ball travels a really long way. The ball speed jumps off, but if you hit a little off the toe, a little off the inside, you're going to lose a lot of ball speed, and that's why that number ended up averaging to be a little lower. So overall, not bad numbers. Looking at the durability, Bridgestone has been pretty much top-notch in this category, and it's no different here. They are phenomenal. The golf ball lasted plenty of shots. It did really well with the golf dot as well. Honestly, Bridgestone's really nailed this as far as their durability. I was able to hit 80 shots with it, and it still definitely be usable. Not perfect by any means, so I'd give it a 4 or 4.5 out of 5, but it is a great durability golf ball. It'll last you many rounds. All right, so who is the golf ball for, and would I recommend it? So this one is a little tougher because, like I said, this golf ball is $49.99 a dozen, and honestly, if I'm just being completely honest with you, with all the other direct-to-consumer brands out there, you know, Snell and Vice Pro, things like that, you know, $34.99 a dozen, it's hard for me to ever recommend a ball that's $49.99 just because why are you buying it? Well, essentially, you're paying that extra price not for a better ball, but because of the marketing, because they're having to pay players, and you're taking the middleman, you know, you're taking the middleman into account. So it's hard for me to ever recommend a golf ball like this, but I will say this. If you're a Bridgestone enthusiast, or you happen to find these golf balls, let's say like at a discount shop or yard sale or whatever, and you're interested in using them, here's the target market I would go for. One, you got to be a pretty good ball striker. If you're not someone who is consistently striking the ball very well, I don't recommend this particular model because there isn't a lot of forgiveness in it. So you're going to end up getting a lot of different numbers, and you're going to be disappointed when your ball ends up a few yards short of the green because you mishit it off the toe a little bit. It does give you a little bit more distance, which is what it promised it did. But again, if you're not a consistent ball striker, you probably just won't see that enough to get a fair result out of it. It does have great durability. I definitely loved it around the green as well. The feel's always phenomenal around the green. Bridgestone's done an amazing job, but I just can't see that $49.99 price point because if I'm being honest, for that price point, something would have to really wow me. I mean, it would have to be a perfect 10 out of 10 across the board, which I have not found yet. Maybe one day I will, but as of right now, I haven't. So I won't recommend it for that regard. But if you are a Bridgestone enthusiast and you swing below 105 miles an hour and you need some extra distance, and you're a great ball striker, and you meet all those criteria, this is a good golf ball for that. But other than that, I would stick to more forgiving models. I would stick to your more direct-to-consumer balls or even your value tour balls, just because I think you're going to get a very similar performance out of them at a much lower price. Guys, as always, keep watching to keep saving, keep learning. I appreciate it. We got another one coming up next. It's the under 105 one, but it's got more spin. So I'm interested to see how much more it really does spin.